Hello to all Central Dauphin Rams football fans. This is Bill Bostic along with our sports director for Linglestown Gazette, Joe Gilloway. Thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule, Joe, to come over here.
Well, I'm off this week from work, but just like a lot of retired people, they say they're busier when they're retired. I've been busier this week than I typically am when I'm working, but you're welcome.
Yeah. And what we got here going is something new. It's going to be an email distribution of a scouting report for football games the balance of the season. We're going to try and do it. I mean, our schedules are really, really packed. But, for you fans that are really into Central Dauphin Rams football, we want to go the extra yard for you, and that's what this is all about with the Central Dauphin Rams scouting report. So thanks for signing up for this service. And this week is going to be a focus on week number 6, Joe, Harrisburg. Certainly a stern test for the Rams. And just what's your quick analysis of this game?
A stern test it is. I think they're most stern or sternest test all season so far, including Berks Catholic.
Now what about Manheim Township? We had that loss. They presented some problems on the offense for us, for sure.
Manheim Township is a very good team on both sides of the ball. I just think that Harrisburg's better. Okay. And the irony is, or the funny thing is about that is, I was at Severance Field for their week 1 loss to Coatesville.
Right.
Coatesville beat them 37-6. I walked away from that game thinking, man, this Harrisburg is going to be a really good team. And I told friends of mine, and they said, how can you say that? They lost by 31. And I said, I just think they're going to be really good. I think they're going to learn from that game and get better and better and better, and that's what we've seen. Yeah,
and as far as those who are uninitiated with Coatesville, I mean, that team is ranked right at the top in the state.
Number 1 in some of the ranking services, I think no lower than number 2. So, I mean, there's different services have different opinions, but they're right up near the top wherever you look for your rankings. Yep.
And just a quick look back last week against Carlisle. I can think the one thing to say about the Carlisle game, week number 5, where we ended up advancing our record to 4-1. The Rams took care of business despite a very hard week with the loss of Harrison Fenstermaker.
Right. Central Dauphin was leading 35-3 at the half, and it's not uncommon, especially at the high school level, when all you really need to do is win. You're not trying to pile up scores so to impress anybody. They ended up not scoring in the second half and winning the game 35-17. But you see that with other area coaches. They get up big, they put in their backups, and they don't really worry about shoving the ball down the defense's throat in the second half. What's it help to score 60 or 70, really?
Yeah, I was just thinking in the first half they took care of business, put the game away, and then the coaching staff had a chance to play some other players. And by the way, we are at St. Thomas Roasters Coffee House in Linglestown. Thank you for them for allowing to use the porch. But the last note on the Carlisle game, because of those backups playing, we saw Max Mosey, number 16, a freshman quarterback, sort of show his stuff. I think he had a touchdown pass in the first half and just showed he has a great arm.
Yeah, they have a quarterback there for the future. There's no doubt about it. And looks like for 3 full years, because Noah Hoffman, the starting quarterback, is a senior, this year's starting quarterback. So the Central Dauphin Rams football program, is in a good position there, where as long as Max Mosey stays healthy, they don't have to look elsewhere for 3 seasons.
Right, and just to acknowledge, number 1, Tyrese Fuller, also as a quarterback, has had some snaps this year in games, and good athlete, and again, he might be part of the mix as well. But right. Max got plenty of playing time, and the other note would be that our kicker, number 92, Derek Krug, continues to impress.
Yeah, there was sort of a question mark surrounding Derek because he didn't start the season out. Well, he started the regular season out the number 1 kicker, the starting kicker. But their starting kicker before the season left the team.
Okay, I didn't even know
that.
Yeah,
he walked away from the team. So Derek sort of got, put into that position. He probably didn't realize he was. If you're a backup kicker, unless the starting kicker gets injured, you don't see any time,
Yeah.
So I remember Coach Mack maybe conveying to you that he had a lot of confidence in Derek's leg. He had a lot of confidence in what Derek was doing in practice, but the big question mark surrounded how would that sort of translate onto the real field. And he's had a couple sort of early on, maybe, I don't know if it was nerves or what it was, but he's really coming around, becoming, I'd say, one of the best kickers in the area.
Yeah, the first game he pretty much muffed the first field goal attempt, but beyond that, I mean, he's shown have a good leg roll throughout the time. The other thing, I think what we'll move into is a look to wrap up this show with the Harrisburg game coming up Friday night, 7 o'clock at Landis Field. Joe has some analysis here and information about the Harrisburg team, but taking a look at, the big argument's going to be that Harrisburg is sort of a monster, and they're going to be hard to slay. But the argument for the Rams they are a young team. For the second year in a row, we got a fairly young team. And apparently, in Coach Mack's view, their youth and not being able to get outside and practice really hurt them in the Manheim Township week. I don't think they were fully prepared in the coach's eyes because of the scenario they ran into with the weather and everything else. And but I think we've seen them get better week by week. I think the offensive line has been playing better. And we know they have a big defense given the Brooks Catholic game. So, I'll argue that, if these two teams play 10 times, the Rams would win more than one. It would be my argument.
I would argue that as well, yeah.
Okay, all right. And what do you got on here?
Let me just inhale here and let it rip. If you're watching and you want to know about the Harrisburg Cougars football team, strap yourself in here. The Cougars are 4-1 overall, 2-0 in the Commonwealth. Their only loss was to Coatesville on the
and that matches our record, right?
Yeah, that matches our record. They're 4-0 after that season opening loss. They outscored their two Mid-Penn Commonwealth opponents 87-0 in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
42-0 against East, 45-0 over Cumberland Valley. To me, they look to be the best team in this area, excluding State College. Even though State College plays out of the Commonwealth, they're a District 6 team, especially after the McDevitt loss to Cedar Cliff. I think, at least at this point of the season, midway through, Harrisburg has solidified themselves as, well, we'll wait until after Friday night.
You're a pretty good authority because you've seen them play twice live.
I've seen them play twice. They really haven't been tested since their season opening loss. They haven't played any sort of upper echelon teams, so Central Dauphin will probably be the first one since week one. They beat Reading, Cedar Cliff, East, and Cumberland Valley. In addition to their loss to Coatesville, they've totally reloaded. They had they had a great team last year. They lost some real top-notch players to graduation. They've reloaded. They got transfer Kane Everson, the quarterback from Central Dauphin East last year. Another transfer, Kayvon Hope. He's a wide receiver, defensive back, Steel High last year. A lot of times lost to players like Micah Parsons, Saquon Anderson Butts, Ymir Wilkerson, and Ronald Kent Jr. will create a huge void, and it just hasn't. Coach Cal Everett has been able to bring in some players that probably would have been able to compete last year at the varsity level, but they just didn't have room for them.
Okay.
They've replaced the speed and athleticism they lost last year. The big question mark is, when the chips are down, have they replaced the leadership that those guys provided? The big names are, again, Kane Everson, quarterback, middle linebacker Andre White Jr. He's all-state. Wide receiver D-back Dante Kent. He's the younger brother of Ronald Kent Jr. He wants his older brother to be known as the older brother of Dante Kent. Okay. I just know that from following him on Facebook, and he's a heck of an athlete. Running back Jameer Plant had a great game last year. Last week, 251 all-purpose yards last week, and that's a lot. And that's just a start. There's a lot of other players that I'm leaving out. Offensive line is really shaping up. The defense is really shaping up. The defense has given up an average of only one touchdown a game since the Coatesville loss.
Okay.
That's pretty stout. Head coach Cal Everett, he's putting it all together. He's putting in a team that could go deep in states. Definitely a favorite to win the District 3 6A title. And the last thing I want to say about Harrisburg is they moved from classification 5A up to 6A this year, which I think will actually benefit them when it's time to go after that district title, because Manheim Central, who is a 5A team, may be the best team in all of District 3.
And why were they in 5A, not 6A last year? Was this just a student population? Yeah,
and it would be the amount of boys in maybe the sophomore and junior classes. I forget how they do it. But I look for Harrisburg to definitely go deep in districts and possibly in states too. And just to wrap up with the keys to victory for the Rams, limit the 3 and outs on offense. They got to move the ball a little bit. set up some field position and give the defense a little bit of rest. They just can't be 3 and out, defense back and forth on the field.
With these tough defenses, they really haven't been able to do that consistently, so we'll see this week.
Right, I agree with that. Harrisburg's a big play team. You have to limit the big plays, and if you give them short fields, then they're not going to have many big plays to score. Limit the penalties, of course.
And that was a big problem that cropped up again last week for the Rams.
Right, and the generic sort of strategy on defense is they have to contain. We saw what Kane Everson did to the Rams last year when he played for East.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Well, it was tough to watch.
Okay.
If you don't contain Kane Everson, he'll get outside and he'll take off forever. Great athlete. He's a Army West Point recruit. He's a nice young man. He's a heck of a high school quarterback. And the big question mark surrounds whether the Central Dauphin defensive backs will be able to keep up with the Harrisburg wideouts.
Okay.
There's a lot of speed out there. And I don't know. We haven't faced this much speed yet. So it remains to be seen.
Yep.
How was that?
That was take a breath, Joe.
I scared the heck out of Bill with all these cards. Bill doesn't like. Well, I don't know. Do you like my cards? Not really.
No, the cards are fine. I think I was just on a short time frame this morning. That was fine. I mean, if you want to know what's going on, I think we've proven this morning. Mm-hmm. This is where you got to go to find out what's happening with the Rams.
I knew I could go through that quickly, Bill. Just trust me.
It was interesting to see you have that moment, that flash of anger. You threw the cards down.
Yeah, I almost gave up. I was still going to do the report, but I just spent about an hour this morning on these cards, and then Bill was sort of intimidated by them. He thought it was going to take up probably half his morning.
Well, with that, I think that's a good note to stop.
Okay.
This is our inaugural Central Dauphin Rams scouting report for Friday night's game, and hopefully we'll be able to sneak this in somehow. And so if you do subscribe, make sure your friends and other people follow the Rams find this is our service. So for Joe Gilloway, this is Bill Bostic signing off. We'll also throw in our title sponsor this year for our coverage, Linglestown American Legion Post 272. We'll see you Friday night at Landis Field.
Thank you.